Now, Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
We are speaking with Zach Bair. The new single is Ordinary Girl, and of course the EP is out now, same name. And we are also going to talk about the National Suicide Prevention Month, which is September. So we're done in September. We're moving into October, but we can never talk enough about prevention. It is one of the greatest tragedies in our human existence, and we need to put an end to it. But as we say in Montreal, bonjour, Zach. How are you?
Bonjour, Mitch. How are you? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm surviving, as we say, in these very strange times. I'm actually homebound until September of 2021. So it's
what? Oh my Lord.
Yeah, so I'm doing everything online these days. It's quite interesting to just sort of, wake up, go get a coffee, come back and sit in front of this computer, go downstairs, get a coffee, go it's like 8 to 5 every day of just staring at a computer all day long. But here we are. Let's talk about this single and, of course, the National Suicide Prevention Month. First of all, what got you interested in the National Suicide Prevention Month? Was it just based on a deep caring for your humans, for humans, or is it something where you've had a lot of experiences and go, hey man, this has got to stop. I got to do something.
I'm going to say it's a little bit of both, really. I actually wrote the song Ordinary Girl a long time ago, a number of years ago, for a young woman who was considering suicide, and she ended up not following through with it after she got surrounded by love and support. And I kind of shelved the song in demo state for a really long time. And then last year, we lost a young employee at one of my music venues to suicide. She was only 28. And, it was devastating. Nobody really expected it. She didn't show any outward signs that she was suicidal whatsoever. And, it hit me really hard and got me thinking about getting the song finished and really working it. And then the pandemic hit, and my company that I work with, we had worked with Rob Thomas all last year recording his shows, and we were actually supposed to go out with Rob Thomas this summer. With Matchbox 20 this summer, and everything came to a screeching halt. And I had all this time on my hands, and I'm like, I think I'm just gonna get this EP and the single done and take advantage of the fact that there's a lot of people in the music industry that had more time on their hands than they wanted. So I called my buddy Skid Mills up in Nashville, who is an accomplished producer. I was worked with Saving Abel and Three Doors Down and 12 Stones and a bunch of other really good bands. And he wasn't really particularly busy because he had some bands on him. So we went in and knocked this thing out. And fortunately, the timing worked so that I started doing interviews around Ordinary Girl and the song and the origin of the song. And I ended up talking to Zach Martin in New York, and we got on the topic of suicide prevention. And, we've all been touched by it. And he's had some close people to him that had committed suicide. And he actually introduced me to the National Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And after getting with them, I decided, hey, I'm gonna donate 20% of Ordinary Girl and 20% of the EP to the foundation, and really try to leverage this to reach out to folks and let them know that there are organizations available and there are people available that will help you if you're in a time of need. And that's really as straight ahead as you can get. I mean, I've had experiences. Obviously more than one person I've known has unfortunately killed themselves, and it doesn't get, it just doesn't get any better with time. It's just still the same. It's an awful feeling.
Why do you think that in 2020 it's still such a stigma? If you come to somebody and you say, hey man, I'm feeling suicidal, most people will go, ooh, stay away from so-and-so, he's crazy. And it's just like, well, no, they're reaching out for help. Why do you think there's still that stigma and those terrible words instead of saying, hey man, I feel what you're going through, let me get you help? Why are we still going through that?
It's an interesting question. And You mentioned your background in psychology, and I was a psychology minor, and I can only speculate that over the last several years, with the rise of social networks, people don't talk to each other as much. All this right here. It's texting, and there's less human interaction. So I think that our natural tendencies as humans to communicate with each other has taken a hit because of all the electronic quote unquote social networking. I think it's antisocial to a large degree,
It
and
is.
therefore it's hard for people to reach out.
I'm gonna cut you off there for a second. It is in the sense that a lot of us spend time on social media, and you see your friend went to Florida or they went to Hawaii, and you get into this depressed state where you go, wow, why is my life not that good? Why am I not like Zach? Why am I not the leader of this? Why am I not in Florida today?
Yeah.
And that's one of those real negative impacts of social media. Of course, there is very positive stuff. You get to share news. You get to, but that, hey, why is my life not as good as his? Look at Mitch. He's always out walking his dog. Look at Zach. He's sitting alone, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and I think that's part of it too. Is that it's almost like there's a competition, or I don't want to call it competition, but there's a challenge that you see your friends out there doing all this cool stuff, and then I'm going to try to post a cool picture and make them think I'm doing cool stuff when really I'm sitting in my room by myself. It's just not good. I honestly, I agree with you. I think there's positive things that social media can do, but I think it's also had a really negative effect on the way people communicate with each other and reach out to each other. And unfortunately, especially in the polarized state that our country's in right now, it's even worse.
Yeah. Now, luckily, I'm in Canada, so we're not as polarized up here. But there is some stuff that's going on up here. Just real quick, in terms of the music, what is sort of the plan moving forward? Or is it just we're doing the song and we're doing the EP and we're going to donate, and then you just go back to being at Venue, or is that how you say it, by the way, Venue?
Venue, like a venue.
Like a venue. Okay, well, I say venue because there's no E in it, but okay, venue. But is that sort of the plan, just to, we'll do this and we'll put it out and then go back to being at the venue? Or do you see yourself making more music and making more, how can I say this, more things for causes? Maybe this month it's the suicide prevention. Next month you do whatever, prostate cancer, and the month after it's cancer. How do you sort of see it playing out in terms of going forward and being altruistic?
Yeah, so definitely we are going to keep pushing forward with the music. I'm lucky in that, I don't say lucky one way or another. I've always been a multitasker, a serial multitasker, and I can do 10 things at one time. And luckily with my job with Venue, I can do it in a tour bus, or I can do it at my desk. I can do it literally, on the side of the stage with Rob Thomas. It doesn't matter where I am. And I think that now we've got some traction with the song. We got some traction last year with a single I put out called Rutherford Drive, and that was encouraging. And I just got to the point in my age, I'm not exactly a spring chicken anymore. I've worked in the music industry for 20 years, and I've never once called up my buddies and say, hey, by the way, I'm a musician too. Hey. But I got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I am going to do that. I've got some music in the can, and we want to put it together and go out and play shows and see where we can take this thing. So we're absolutely, assuming that next year opens back up again, we hope to go out and do some shows and hopefully leverage some of the relationships I have with many of the bands that we've worked with before on the professional side to get out there and do good stuff. And, I think, for the time being, I mean, my focus in terms of advocacy is really suicide awareness, prevention, and mental health. Because, we all know people that do have mental health issues. And again, it's not a stigma. It's just like anything else that's a physical ailment. It just happens to be in your brain, and I think that the more that we can talk about it and make it an open discussion, an open topic, the more that we can have a positive effect on it. And really 90% of the songs on the EP, 99% probably, are all uplifting kinds of songs of hope and positive messages. There's only one on there that's a little bit dark, but the rest are all positive, and that's generally the vein that I write in.
Yeah, which is good. And I have to say, on my side, a couple of years ago, I came to the house and I found my brother having tried to commit suicide, lying on the floor with pills all around him.
Oh, geez.
And that was exceptionally traumatic. It's
imagine
it hits you, and it's strange. Yeah, excuse if I'm not using the right words. But, my mom came and said, oh, he's lying on the floor. And I was like, well, why are you talking to me? Why are you not calling 911? So there's the confusion, and there's the anger, and there's the trauma. And then there's the don't talk about it to the neighbors because we don't want anybody to know. And I've always thought, well, maybe we should know so that they can look out for signs. Maybe they should be aware so that they can say, hey, how you doing? Maybe so that people could reach out and care and not... I don't know. There's just this desire to make it a dirty little secret, and it's like, don't do that. Sorry for the dog.
I had years ago when I was playing in my band in Houston and No Control, and I had just moved to Dallas, and so my guys in my band were coming back up and forth to Dallas and were staying with me. And there was a young kid in my band. I can't remember his name. I feel bad. This is like 95 or something, right? And all the guys were staying at my place, and I would have to go to work and come back and whatnot. And one of the people that was staying there was this young kid, and literally probably 5 to 10 years after everybody stayed there and hung out, I found out this kid tried to hang himself at my place while I was gone. Nobody told me about it, and the way I found out is because I was told that he did succeed in hanging himself at some point in Houston, and he unfortunately ended his life. But I mean, it's kind of the same situation. I mean, none of my band guys told me like, hey, this guy, literally tried to off himself in your place while you're at work. And nothing was weird when I got there. I mean, nobody said anything, and it's just like, man, why didn't you just say something? We could have maybe gotten him some help. And because clearly,
that's the point, right? I mean,
yeah, he was a damaged human, but so yeah, I mean, it's touched me a lot over the years, and now that we're talking about it, I'm remembering other things, and it's just an important topic that needs to be said, especially times like this when we're, cooped up for a year or whatever, and some people don't have people to talk to. They're by themselves, and if they're in a depressive state, or if they suffer from depression, it just gets worse.
What do you think it's going to look like moving forward in the music industry in terms of just the business, but also in terms of the mental health? Because now you've got a lot of roadies and a lot of lighting guys and a lot of riggers and all these people, their career is gone.
Yeah.
And some are just going to go, okay, well, I'm not going to go work at the venue. I'm going to go work at the Ralphs, or I'm going to go work at Ford, or I'm going to go work. But others are just going to say, I'm out. I'm done.
I think that's absolutely what's going to happen. I think you're going to see that even though we have tours on the books, like I mentioned Matchbox next year, July 2021, those are not huge stadium shows. I think it's going to take a while before we get back to that. It may be 2022 before we get to the stadium shows. I honestly think that the theater shows and maybe the smaller sheds will start in the springtime when touring starts up again, but I still think it's going to be gradual. I think that the crowds are going to be smaller than, we're used to seeing. And I also think that many of the people that work in the industry, as you mentioned, probably will have already found different careers. Maybe they re-educated themselves in technology, or, found a job at Ford or whatever it is. I think you're going to see that the people coming back to the industry is going to be, there are going to be a lot less folks coming back into it than we're accustomed to, and I don't think it'll be back to any sense of normal for at least 2 or 3 years.
Oh, it won't be. And listen, I'm just speaking from the Montreal perspective. We're currently in a red zone, and we're at lockdown. We have no open bars, no open cinemas, nothing. We're at complete lockdown, and our promoter here is booking bigger shows only for 2022. So you're looking at Elton John. You're looking at all that. It's all 2020. He's totally given up on 2021 for arenas and stadiums and outdoor.
I believe it.
Our Just for Laughs Festival, which is world renowned. Jay Leno used to talk about it all the time. It has moved to a virtual festival for 2021. They have already announced it's not happening, and so it just appears to me that there's this sense from at least the Canadian perspective that we're not even going to try for 2021, and that's devastating. How can any industry, whether you're building Ford or you're building iPhones or how can you not have 2 years of active business? It's
That's crazy. And not only that, I think that I think there's going to be issues with insurers wanting
tons.
insure these massive events, and I think that's going to be another roadblock. Of course, here we have no national anything coordination. It's been terrible, and you have some states that have done a really good job of containing this, and their economies are starting to come back. Then you have other states that haven't done anything that are terrible. Florida, their governor just opened up the entire state wide open. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot, because you're going to lock it back down when this stuff gets bad again, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately curious to see what's going to happen in Florida. On one sense, I'm praying that he was right and that everything goes right, and it shows that we're good and going, because I'm not praying for people to die. But exactly. my fear, though, is it's going to be a complete and utter bloodbath in terms of numbers.
I think so too. Yeah. And I have tons of friends in Florida, and I hate this. And I'm physically located in Tennessee, and I've heard rumors that our governor is about to do the same thing. And I'm like, Jesus, I mean, you know what? I'm still going to wear my mask, and I'm going to stay away from people as much as I can, because this is real. We've all lost people from coronavirus, and it really doesn't have a rhyme or reason. And until they have a solid vaccine and a solid treatment regimen, you're risking your life.
Yeah, and I'll finish on that corona thing, but in the Montreal perspective, the Quebec perspective, we got to August and we had it basically stamped out. We were getting 0 deaths for days ahead, and all of a sudden we had shows, 250 people, and bars could be wide open. And here we are heading into October, and we're in a red zone with thousands of cases a day. 600 schools have cases of kids, over 1,000 students. And it's just like, dude, you just went too fast. You went from 0 to 100 in terms of speed, and now we're back to everything's locked down, and it's crazy. Before we let you go here, I got to talk about Disc Live. You had this company called Disc Live, and Slash would go out on tour and have all these albums, and REO Speedwagon and Seether and Tesla. And I remember back in whatever it was, 2003, 2000, talking to the guys in Tesla, to Troy, and saying, you got to do this. Fans are going to love it. You can sell it at your shows. And then you did it, of course, with Jack Russell and Great White years later. Talk to me about Disc Live and that concept back in the day of you go to a show, you buy it, and they give it to you at the end of the night. It was a great concept. We don't see it as much anymore. Do you think we'll start seeing that again? And what were some of the advantages of doing it, and what were some of the glitches in it? Because all of a sudden the microphone goes out, and now you've got people who spend $40 and they're going to have 3 songs missing. Talk to me a little bit about Disc Live.
So Disc Live, I mean, it's gone through a few permutations over the years. I was with Disc Live from almost the inception, through starting around 2003, early 2004, through now, and it's gone through a period where it was Disc Live, and then it went through a period where it was known as House Live Media Productions, after I sold the former parent company to Mark Cuban. Then it went through a period of time where we partnered with EMI Music Group and Capitol Records. It was called Abbey Road Live. And then we reverted back to Disc Live, and it's been Disc Live ever since. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, when we started doing it, we were seen as a threat from the record labels in terms of cannibalizing their opportunities to sell those studio records. And we were fiercely in competition with a company called Instant Live that was owned by Clear Channel and Live Nation. And I have been like a dog on the bone for this concept, because I've always felt like it was ahead of its time back then. And as the years have gone by, more artists have been amenable to working with us. It's still not to the point where I'd like it to be, but nowadays you go to a concert and you can't see past the guy in front of you because you're holding the phone up, taping the concert. So our pitch has been last few years is like, look, these folks are out there recording your band and posting sub-quality material. And you're not having any benefit from that whatsoever. We have a solution. Not only do we have the Disc Live physical solution, but we have Set.fm, which is our digital mobile solution where we can actually send the content to your mobile device as you're walking out, which is really cool. So it's evolved a little bit, but what I found to be really super interesting is that there is still a huge appetite for high quality collectible CD products. We sold a ton last year when we were out with Rob Thomas. In the last couple of years, we worked with everybody from Patti Smythe and Scandal to King's X. Of course, Rob's probably our biggest, but years prior to that, I did 110 shows with probably one of my favorite artists of all times, Peter Frampton. Worked with Slash, worked with the Tesla guys and Devo and Blondie, and done this all over the world. And the appetite for these products has not diminished, even if new technologies like streaming and listening on your iPhone or whatever, people still like to take the memorabilia home with them and look at it and feel it in their hands. And despite the glitches, I mean, I think that's part of what makes it really interesting and really cool for fans. I'll give you a great example. We did, who did we do? It was Kenny Loggins. It was probably 2006. And just an acoustic show at a casino. And we were doing like a 500 limited edition run of the CDs. And he majorly messed up a song. And he stopped the song entirely. And he talked to the audience, made a joke about it, and said, hey, you know what? You're going to hear this because, these are the CDs we're selling tonight. You're going to hear every bit of this. Audience loved it. They laughed about it. And we sold the whole edition before we even left the
venue. Yeah.
So there are moments that, artists may not like that moment, but on the other hand, it's kind of an endearing moment that causes them to have a better connection with their fans and vice versa. Yeah.
Well, you see, I love them because I've bought all the Tesla ones, I bought all the Slash ones, and I bought as many of the Billy Idol ones that I could get my hands on. And I love the fact
left.
We have one. I have 3 of them downstairs. I got 3 of them. But what I enjoyed was the fact that, especially with Slash and stuff, they would change the set list, but even the way they would play whatever Welcome to the Jungle, there would be a little different guitar part here, a little different vocal, and as a completist and as a fan, I just that's what I live for, the whole live experience.
Frampton did the same thing. His set was a little bit different every night, and this is a guy who would literally play for 3 hours straight with only maybe a 10-minute intermission in between. Absolutely phenomenal. And true collector's items. Those were triple disc sets with a 4th bonus disc. So they were ambitious.
And I'll tell you the other thing I liked about it, because I know Instant Live was a competition, but they used to do Kiss, and they also did I think Black Crowes. Mm-hmm. And I was never compelled to buy a T-shirt at some of those because I was just like, well, everybody's got a T-shirt. But you would leave the venue and then you would have that, the Billy Idol one in your hand, and you're like, but this is unique to Montreal, or this is unique to Boston. I'm not going to get this in Detroit because the one that's selling in Detroit is going to be Detroit. And
you, not to interrupt you, but you wouldn't believe how many times over the years I've had either an artist manager come to me or somebody in my business. They would be like, well, look, why don't you just record the first show and sell that on the tour? I'm like, dude, that's not the same. And people want to have their show. They want to have that special moment. And that's what makes, to me, it's one of the most exciting things that you can do is make somebody happy by giving that, and they're like, wow, did you really record this tonight? Yeah, we really recorded it tonight. It's phenomenal, a good feeling.
And the price was right, because back in the day, they mostly were about $25 or $30, which, for something that's completely exclusive to your venue and to your night and to your experience, that's a good deal. Because, when you sell experience, you're usually tripling the price.
And we're still actually selling them for less than you pay for a T-shirt. I mean, it's a great deal. And for Matchbox 20, we partnered with Ticketmaster, and when you buy your tickets to the show, you have the opportunity to purchase a CD upon checkout, and that's been really a boon, because people, crap, I can take my show home with me. I might as well go ahead and get it now, and then they still show up at the show and buy T-shirts. So it's the best of both worlds.
It's both, because they forgot that they bought the CD and then they get both. But there you go. Real quick, in terms of Ordinary Girl, how has the song been doing for you at radio and out in the market?
It's starting to catch on. Luckily we did Rutherford Drive first, which is really more AAA kind of stations than rock, and that was the idea. I wanted to reel in, new fans and grow our fan base before we got to the heavier rock stuff. And so far, I think we're in about 20 to 25 markets and growing. And everybody seems to love the song. I love the song, so hopefully it'll continue to be pushed out there.
Yeah, I hope so too. And just remind the folks, you can check out set.fm, vnue.com, and dislive.net for all this stuff that we've talked about. Zach, an absolute pleasure. We've known each other for many, many years, but we've actually never seen each other face to face. It's always been through the internet.
I know, it's bizarre. This is great, man. So it's absolute pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. And there you go. Thank you. And as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Have a good one.
There you go. Perfect. Let me turn off the recording.